select this, I think group by will also be here. Group by will also be in the right place. Like I said, most of these things are always in the right place, which is way easier for me rather than looking for it. Right? Just so I click, you see group by. Now you see, because I selected it, that's why I'm doing group by. Now I'm gonna do first group by the basic, and the next one I'm gonna do, I'll do it by what? By advanced. So you know the two. There's no actually the advanced is just what, where you can take more than what, two features, but in the basic is just only one. This is store B. Is like, these are like, especially for those in sales, though for those that work with small scale businesses, this may be kind of like the job you do every day, because you'll be exporting short tables for your manager depending on what is it that they want to see, right? Welcome back again to the part 5 of our series, right? So in part 4, we solved our assignments on transformation, where we use the case study for student scores and built what, new columns from our original data. Columns like grade, month, the name of the month, and the date of the month, and the date of the, like, the day of the week of that day, of that date, that particular date. And there are also other transformation one can do further from that. I also showed us how to, how to clean up our columns, things like trim, uppercase, lowercase, capitalize first letter of each word, things like that. These are also some cleaning tools we use. So that in this particular series, we're gonna look at how to group our data, how you can do group by on Power Query, or do things like on pivots using our retail data, which I will also add on the description. The link to that data is on the description. Then for us to begin, just to refresh our mind, I want from here to show you guys how we can get the data while we are on Power Query. How can you bring in a new data while you are on Power Query? You don't need to do close and apply. You can get in a new data. So you can easily go to recent source, since okay, this is for the updated ones. So you can go to new source, go to Excel. So you choose the format based on the data you are getting, the data format that you are bringing into the Power Query. So go to Excel. I think the retail data is an Excel. So we look for retail data, yes, large. Yeah. Bring it in so you can see what's up with that. Scanning. So I select the sheet. It's first of all preview. So as it has previewed, I'll just okay. So we are here. Yeah. So next is, the first thing I do is to just rename my table so that I know what I'm doing. We're gonna call this a grouped retail table. Grouped because retail data. Yeah, because of what we're gonna do on it. That's why I'm calling it groups. All right. Okay. So that's interesting. If you look here, this is sales. These are different categories. This, like, there are a whole lot of things you can see here. You can see this is the store, the month, and then the grocery, right? And this is the sales. So assuming that your manager asks you to get things like maximum, minimum, and average. No, total, maximum, minimum, and average of each of these dimensions. What am I actually calling dimensions here? The store here is a dimension, the month here is a dimension, the category here is a dimension. This is also how I mean, when we begin to get into I think that will be like in our next two series when we begin to talk about data modeling and relationships. So this is how some of these things are built, how you learn to build small queries towards for an effective and then an optimized data modeling. So this is how it starts. It starts from things like this. We normally call things like this flattening, right? So you build up those tables from your flat table. So what are we to do here? Group by. What does that simply mean? Group by is just simply to what? To group this table according to a particular dimension. It can be it can be according to two things, which is maybe um store. It can be store and month. It can also be category and month, right? What does that mean? So for each store, what is the average of what each sales for each stores. So how many stores do we have here? We have store A to D, right? And I think we have months April, February, January, and March. So January, February, March, April. January to what? To April. And then we'll have categories like clothing, electronics, furniture, groceries, right? So these are most cases you see for people that work in companies that deals with short queries like, oh, can I see a table? Can I see days we have on these? And in most cases, maybe they want to export it into what? Into an Excel or something like that. So they will dwell more with what? Export of your data. In such cases, queries like this help a lot, right? So to go with that, what I normally do, the first thing I always do is to duplicate that table because it's a grouping. And because I want to group it into different levels, right? So I'm gonna duplicate this table. If I duplicate this table, I'll call this group towards store. Group store. Group store. So group store means this particular table will be grouped according to the store, right? Based on the aggregates. Like I said, the aggregates we're gonna use is average, first of all, sum, average, minimum and maximum of that particular what according for each store. So if we select this, I think group by will also be here. Group by will also be in the right click. Like I said, most of these things are always in the right click, which is way easier for me rather than looking for it. Right? Just right click, you see group by. Now, you see, because I selected it, that's why I'm doing group by. Now, I'm going to do first group by the basic, and the next one I'm going to do, I'll do it by what? By advanced. So, you know the two. There's not actually, the advanced is just what? Where you can take more than what? Two features. But in the basic, is just only one. Advanced is you can take more than two features. What do I mean? Here, I'm only grouping by the store. While in advance, I can group by the store and the month or the category and the month. So it asks me the name of the column, of the new column. And another thing with group by again is you can also have multiple words aggregation with advanced, I mean to say. But in basic, it's just going to be what? Only what? One aggregate per one basic. That I think, okay, let me just do just one basic, even though that's not actually what I want to do. More of the things I want to do will be on the advanced, but let me just show you how the basic one can be. So let's assume I want to group this table based of average what sales, average sales for each store. So this is only column name, but you have to select the operator, which is the average. And then it asks me of which column? Average of what? So you have to select the column. The column means what? Sales. Because other ones are not aggregatable. You only aggregate numeric columns, like number columns, right? So I'm grouping this by each store for average of what each sales. If I okay it, this is first example for what? For basic. So if I okay it, you see exactly what I just told you. Now, and you see why, did you see why I grouped this? I duplicated this was for it because I know if I group it, I'm not gonna get the original table again. That's why in this kind of thing, I always like to keep my main table, especially if I know I'm gonna do multiple word groupings from that particular word table. So this is what grouped store. You see? So store now, this is what average sales of that particular store. Everything that they sold on that store, the average sales coming from that store. Now, like I said, the main thing that we actually wanted to do is is to have multiple aggregates for either a particular dimension or more than one dimension. So let me just do that. So I'm gonna duplicate this again. We'll call it um multi groups store. Mm, okay, let me call this. I'm trying to find naming that you guys can relate to. Group store and so we're gonna do store and months. Yeah, store and months. So now what we are trying to achieve in this one is we want to see what is the total sum of each store for each month. Watch me. What is the total sum or average sum or average sales or maximum sales or minimum sales of each store in each month? So that's what we call multi-grouping. So it's not only one, it's not only by a store, it will be by store and by the month. What does that mean? So in the whole of April, what was the total sales for store B in April? So only store B in April. And now I also see store B in February. I also see store B in January. So each store for each month. I think that is well said now. So let's go. What do I do? I can select, I can just do the group by again, can select anyone and then click on what? The advance. Click on what? The advance. If you click on the advance, you see it asks me to add more grouping. And because I'm doing store and month, so store and month, that is what? Multi-grouping or multi-grouping, depending on what you already used. And you see another thing for the advance is you can also add what? More aggregation. So the first thing I may want to add is what? Maybe total sales, which you come here, select the sum, come here, and select the sales. I'll add another aggregation. Come here, average what? Sales. Come here, select the average. Come here, select the sales. What again am I adding? Minimum sales. Okay, maximum sales. Come here, select maximum. Come here, select sales. Like I said, aggregation will always, this column here, if you select anything that is not a numeric number, you're going to have an error. Minimum sales, which is minimum, and make sure it is your column name will match with the operation that you've used, that you have applied on it. So minimum what? Sales. As simple as that. So each of these aggregations, right, will be applied to the composite of store and months. Hope I'm not using jargons for you guys now. Okay, so okay, yeah, yeah, that's it. So what does that mean? Now, this is store B, Is like these are like especially for those in sales, though for those that work with small scale businesses, this may be kind of like the job you do every day because you'll be exporting short tables for your manager depending on what is it that they want to see, right? So you see, for each store now, this is store B, the total sales for store B in April was 27,000, blah blah blah. And then this was also the average. This was also the average. And also this is the maximum sales for store B in April. And this was the minimum sales for store B in April. However, I can also see for store the same store A. I also see store A in February. So you can see what if okay, let me do this. Let me sort just one. So let me sort it. I can sort it by sending order. Yeah, let me sort this by sending order. So it will make more sense to you guys. Now that I've sorted it, you can see now this is store A, or everything about store A. So you see store A, April, store B for January, store A for March, store A for what? For February. So you see everything store A did according to each of the months. After store A, you move to store B, you move to store C, move to store D for each of the months. You see the total sales, the average sales, the maximum, and what? The minimum. That is one thing with what you buy. So I hope that is clear enough. So as for the on pivot and pivot, we've done that before. I've attached a link here where we treated how to pivot and pivot, which is also another transformation step people go through. Click on that link and you see what we did there.